On this episode of my so-called podcast, we're going back to the week of December 4th, 1990.
That's right. We're going to discuss the film Hidden Agenda from director Ken Loach and the album The Simpsons Sing the Blues.
Do the Bartman.
Like the past. The movie never changes. It can't change, but every time you see it, it seems different because you're different. You see different things.
Hey, welcome to my so-called podcast. I am Gary Linton.
And I'm Eric Spiegel.
Hey, Eric, you ready for another episode of my so-called podcast?
What's that, Gary?
It is a podcast where we go back to a week in the 90s and we look at a movie and an album that were released roughly in that week.
Fascinating.
Yep.
Fascinating. Do we do that this week? Is that what we're doing?
That's right, yep. And I think we are going back to the week of December 4th, 1990.
Oh, I remember that week.
Do you?
Isn't that when Ken Loach's Hidden Agenda came out? And The Simpsons Sing the Blues came out on LP and cassette?
I believe that is the case. And I will tell you that there was one piece of media that one of those I knew a lot about, and one I did not know at all until just recently.
Because you're such a Loach head back
That's
then
right.
when you were 12.
I am such a Ken Loach fan. I was like, yeah, poor cow.
I mean, the cast is stacked. I mean, we'll come back to it, but it's a well-cast movie, you know?
Yes, it is.
We got some stalwarts over the decades, good actors in it.
Right, yeah. So the second half of the podcast, we will talk about Hidden Agenda from 1990. We just chose that because it is set in Ireland, and this is our St. Patty's Day spectacular episode.
Yeah, it's going to come out. As you're listening to this, today is March 16th, right? So March.
No, today's the. Oh, right. No, I see what you're saying. Yes.
You, the listener.
The listener, yes. I was like, did I miss a day? You threw me
St.
for a
Patrick's Day tomorrow. It's a Thursday, so St. Patrick's Day could be the beginning of a long weekend for some people that like Jameson or Bushmills or Guinness or Harp.
Any of your fine Irish liquors.
Bass, Killian's, does that count? I think that's made by Michelob.
I think
or
so.
Miller.
Yeah, but it counts.
Killarney's, I don't know, but not Boddington's, right? Because that's English.
That's English, right?
And they don't get along. Anyway, we're watching that movie because of that, right?
That's right.
It's that Irish time of the month. We we do. We have some, theme months, and we have some non-theme months, and we have some things that come around maybe once a year, and watching something that takes place in Ireland and a lot of times talks about Irish history is not hard to find in the 1990s.
No, yeah, there's a lot. I was actually looking at that again, where I was like, wow, we still have a couple of Neil Jordan movies that we haven't done. We've done some other Jim Sheridan movies.
Sheridan, yep. And it was a golden age for Irish independent cinema, and it did seem like it almost predated, it looks like, at least, sort of the Sundance era of indie movies, which was sort of the other thread of the 1990s indie scene, was the sort of foreign films becoming a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
Well, we'll talk about
it must have been like really cool if you knew about it, right?
Yes, yeah.
Sort of like if you knew about this record.
No. So
The Simpsons Sing the Blues, featuring the Simpsons / various artists, right?
That's right.
So those came out the same week. I'm sure they had the exact same audience.
Yes, I think so.
I think most people that are driving home from going to see Hidden Agenda at whatever the Avalon Theater or whatnot, or the Shady Oak in Clayton.
Yes.
They were driving home.
Shady Oak. Wow, yeah.
They popped in a cassette of the Simpsons Sing the Blues, and they drove home on the Interbell, right?
That's right. I went and saw Brain Candy at the Shady Oak. I remember that.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, the Shady Oak. Isn't the Shady Oak where they did the midnight, Saturday night Rocky Horror?
Maybe. I thought they did that at the Tivoli also, but maybe they did it at the Shady Oak.
No, yeah, I think it was not originally at the Tivoli, because if you go back early enough, there wasn't a Tivoli as far as independent movies go.
Right. Yeah.
Early in the 90s, it was like before we were driving, at least.
Right.
It was a little different. Yeah, everybody came here for that early 90s St. Louis specific, like, roads and stuff. That's right. What you're here for, right?
That's right. No, they're here. So in order to get everybody into the 90s state of mind, we will ask each other questions, and we keep score. Eric, it is 10-10 in our trivia game.
Oh, my goodness. And when we get to 20... we need to provide the winner with stakes, which is an ever-increasing difficult thing to do in the, we started this podcast, I think beef wasn't like the most popular meat, but it wasn't sort of persona non grata. But it wasn't in 2022.
They didn't realize, it's killing the planet. Even just... the production of it is what's really killing the planet.
Right. Yeah, I was talking to Owen about this recently, that so anyway, steaks.
Yes, steaks.
I don't need to go off on this, but sure. Ignorance is bliss sometimes when it comes to hamburgers, I suppose. Anyway, right. So we were talking about... how do we get there?
It was just talking about the trivia game, and whoever gets 20
stakes. Yeah. So anyway, there are stakes. They've taken many different forms over the past few years. We had you over to make you some steaks back the pre-COVID-ish times, and times when, I didn't think twice about having somebody over and making too much beef.
That's right. And everybody, and my whole family ate it. Your whole family ate it. It was great. That would not happen now, though.
No. Yeah. Different times. Yeah. Also, I was thinking, like, Stranger Things, depiction of the 80s.
Yeah.
It's like all the good stuff, but none of the bad stuff. Like, if that show was for real, like, every single one of the adults would be smoking constantly.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
Like, do you remember going to the zoo and there just being cigarette butts everywhere?
Oh, like, yeah.
Everywhere.
Right.
It stank, right?
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, my dad was a smoker too, so that was bad stuff.
Yeah, well, I don't think I even knew the difference a lot of the time, because when we went out to eat, we'd sit in the smoking area,
Yep.
Yeah, people don't, I don't think millennials can comprehend that, right?
No. But you're very close to just being a grumpy old man right now. So let's go into these trivia questions, okay?
No, I mean, I think it's just weird. I don't think it was. I think I'd be a grumpy old man if I thought that was better. So.
Oh, that's true. You're right. No,
you're the grumpy old man with your beef.
That's right.
But we're going to talk about these trivia questions.
That's right.
It's 10 to 10. We're
10 to 10.
20.
What was the original message on Johnny Depp's heartfelt tattoo that now reads "Wino Forever"?
Well, Gary, one doesn't have to know that much about the love life of Johnny Depp.
No?
To know that he, had a passionate but short-lived love affair with what's his name's mom on Stranger Things.
That's right.
Winona. What's her name? What's her name on that? Elaine? No,
I don't know. It's but it's Will is the
Will's mom. Yeah, Will's mom. So I got that right?
Yes, you got that right.
Okay. How about this? What gag product was the subject of a lawsuit by the unamused producer of Hamburger Helper?
What gag product was Hamburger Helper? I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
It's something called Roadkill Helper.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was a bad question.
No, it's a good question. It takes us all back to remember what Roadkill Helper was.
It does sound very 1990, you know, like
right.
the humor was not at the top of its game.
No.
It was like the heady days before the "you might be a redneck" caught on.
That's right. Yeah, Roadkill Helper. Eric, who tools around in a phone booth larger on the inside than it is on the outside?
That is the Doctor himself, Doctor Who.
Yeah, let's see what they say. Doctor Who, yep.
The Doctor, or Doctor Who, yeah. That was much easier than Roadkill Helper.
Yeah, it's all good. That's just the way the car.
I should have said Dr. Roadkill.
Doctor, I wouldn't have given it to you, even if you were joking, because I don't
watch
joke.
Dr. Roadkill? What does he do? Does he reanimate the corpses of Roadkill, or is he somehow able to save them?
Yes. Both.
Does he save other creatures with Roadkill?
I actually like that one. Give me 3 pelts.
Okay, so I have an idea for a screenplay that I'll tell you on the break, and you can say whether or not it's worth telling the story of my screenplay on the podcast. Okay, so just remind me.
Okay, I love it.
We'll put up a Twitter poll. Do you want to hear Eric's screenplay pitch?
Right.
And you can tell them which way to vote. Anyway, who was the first former Saturday Night Live star to be nominated for an Oscar? That's a pretty good question.
Yeah, that is a pretty good question. Yeah, I like it. First
in
former...
1990.
Oh, right. That would be the thing. Because 77, so first former, not Eddie. I'm going to go with, because maybe Dan Aykroyd and some. No, that's not right though. Oh, I got it.
Daniel Aykroyd. I think perhaps Driving Miss Daisy.
Oh, okay.
He was the son of Jessica Tandy's character, and Dan Aykroyd was in that. That was indeed 1989, so it would have been nominated for an Oscar in 1990.
Yep. Best Supporting Actor Oscar. People loved that movie. I've never actually seen it.
I went to see it when I was 12.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really good. But, I don't think that it's a complicated look at the topic.
No. All right. I got one last question for you here, Eric. What company recycled 100 million one-time use cameras in 7 years upon introduction of the Fun Saver model?
Kodak?
Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, sweet. My soundboard is on a commercial right now.
Oh, wow, that's great.
For the love of God. Just imagine that there's clapping happening, everybody.
Yes.
It sounds a lot like that.
All right.
And you can edit that out, or do you think that's enjoyable? I never saw a commercial on this before. What a terrible thing. I guess I would spend $2.99 on that. Do you ever have that happen to you where it's like it has ads at weird times, and then you want to go pay $3 for it so it'll stop that, but they don't have that available?
No, I guess I haven't really experienced that.
That's very irritating. I guess you don't play a lot of word games on your phone.
No. So I just do Wordle.
I do that kind of stuff now instead of social media whenever I want to play on my phone.
Yes.
At least I'm being honest with myself and it doesn't make me feel bad. Anyway, should I ask you another question?
Yeah, I have one last question.
Well, I've got to ask you this question, even though it might be hard.
Okay.
What nutty northwestern U.S. state sold tons of mountain oysters at annual testicle festivals.
Okay. What nutty Northwest U.S. state? Yeah.
U.S. state sold tons of mountain oysters at annual testicle festivals.
Right.
And if you don't get this right, you have to get a tattoo that says Testicle Festival Forever.
Okay.
Over your old Winona tattoo.
That's fair. I guess I'm going to go with Northwest. I guess that's weird. It's like, what's the question going to be? Where does the Northwest? Because I kind of want to say Montana, but I don't know if that would be considered Northwest. So I'm going to go with, I'll just go with Washington.
I mean, why wouldn't you consider Montana Northwest?
I guess it's more central, but it was Montana.
I'm going to give you this one. I'm going to give you that one because the question led you astray. You knew it was Montana, so I'm giving it to you.
Okay.
So you got a point there.
So 13 to 12. You got all three right. I got two right. So we're at 13 to 12.
Well, that's pretty fun. Sorry I asked that Roadkill Helper. I don't have any memories of Roadkill Helper, not even as a joke on Jay Leno or Johnny Carson or whatnot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did not remember that at all. So, all right. Now we're going to transition into talking about the Simpsons Sing the Blues.
Which, I do think that Do the Bartman was on the top 40 songs.
Yeah, I would imagine it was. Can you give us the top 10 singles, though, Eric?
Oh, I can do that, Gary, with aplomb.
Okay.
Number 10 was Feels Good by Tony. Number 9 was Impulsive by Wilson Phillips.
Okay.
Number 8, The Way You Do the Things You UB40.
Yes.
Number 7, More Than Words Can Say by Alias. Do you know that one?
I do know that. Well, no, wait. I might be thinking of Extremes.
More Than Words
by Extreme.
Yeah, More Than Words Can Say by Alias. You think it's Jennifer Garner and the captain of the Titanic?
I do. You're right. The cast of Alias. Was Victor Garber the captain of the Titanic?
He was. So I'm assuming that. Okay, Alias. He doesn't. More Than Words Can Say aren't even in his top 5. So this is like deep cuts from Alias.
Yeah. Wow.
I guess there might be more than one Alias. I mean, I think everybody should probably, look this up on their own, or you should go ahead. I could just go ahead. How about that? Number 6 was Something to Believe In by Poison, which I think we did on the podcast.
We did talk about a Poison album. I think it was probably this one.
Yeah, it was. There's only, I think, one in the 90s, perhaps.
Yeah. Only one worth talking about.
Here's More Than Words Can Say by Alias, by the way. Okay, I'm going to cut into it a little bit here.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that one.
Wow.
That's right.
That's actually a power ballad I haven't heard since 1990, I think.
Probably, yeah, but we heard it. It was played a lot, and that was, it
was huge. I didn't know who it was or what the name of that song was.
Right.
I just knew it in the ether.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. I hope you had fun too, everybody, if you're Gen X. Anyway, number 5, From a Distance, Bette Midler, sort of the follow-up to
Wind Beneath My Wings.
Wind Beneath My Wings in a lot of ways. It's sort of a similarly produced ballad that's overly important. This one's about Earth Day.
Oh, that's right. It wasn't on the Beaches soundtrack.
Right. It was on a solo album, and it's like, look, we're going to buy the Beaches soundtrack, the mainstream public said, and then we're not going to buy Bette Midler albums anymore.
Right.
And that means the soundtrack to For the Boys, which we also won't go see, said the American public.
But that was more because of James Caan than anything.
Well, at least our intuition was correct about James Caan.
Yes.
Isn't he insufferable now? I can't
I
even keep
don't
it straight.
know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think
He's not a good guy in The Godfather. I know that.
but he's a good actor.
He's pretty funny in
Bottle Rocket.
at first, the first Wes Anderson movie. Yeah, Bottle Rocket. Yes, he's really a good sport in that too.
Yes.
I don't know. Anyway, that's Bette Midler for you. Number 4, Groove is in the Heart. My sister's favorite song from 1990 by Delight.
Delight.
Which that video, their whole look, that song, it was a delight, to be honest.
Yep.
I wish there was more of that in 1990 for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty.
Because I Love You, the Postman song by Stevie B. Okay, I feel like this is going to be another one of the ones that we can't sing, but then as soon as we hear it, we're going to be like, oh. Don't you think?
Probably. Yes.
Because in parentheses, it's called the Postman song, which is, I don't think, from that Kevin Costner movie, which was to be made,
right.
5 years later or something. Anyway.
Postman song.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Because I love you. I turn into Eric Cartman every time. Number 2, Love Takes Time to Heal When You're Hurting So Much. Can't you see that I was blind?
That's right.
Love takes time, Gary. That's Mariah Carey. Mimi. Number 2, to Second Fiddle, which she was playing at this time, 2 number ones, Whitney Houston, with her song I'm Your Baby Tonight. Don't you feel like there was that time where it was like Mariah Carey was coming for Whitney Houston's throne, and she eventually did get it?
That's right. Yeah, I think there was. Whitney was old guard, and Mariah Carey was the up and comer. And but yeah, I think Whitney Houston tragically had some drug problems and fell off. Maybe because she was like, I can't stay in front of Mariah Carey so much, too much pressure.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Yeah.
To be honest. Everybody's probably always coming for you, you know?
Yeah, when you're on top.
Yeah. It's probably unimaginably hard. Anyway, but she was at number 1, Whitney Houston, holding back Mariah Carey, Stevie B, and surprisingly Alias.
Yeah, right. I'm sure
I'm
Alias.
I'm gonna put on a playlist immediately. A little Alias, that was good.
That's right.
I liked it.
Sadly, not from the cast of Alias. But okay, Eric, The Simpsons.
Although it is Victor Garber, weirdly.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No, that's news. The Simpsons Sing the Blues, right?
Oh, yep, sure. Correct.
In 1990, the Simpsons has taken America by storm. Everybody.
And how, Gary?
Yeah.
And how?
So, either it's hard to really hate on this album because it's just kind of like kind of a nothing album, or it's easy to hate on it.
Okay. I think of this album as if I would look upon. Do you remember the old brown Fisher-Price record player?
Yes.
That you would sometimes listen to music on, but most of the time you're listening to those books where you turn the page when there's a sound.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So I feel like I think of this quote-unquote album as fitting in with that world, almost like a children's book, if it were.
Okay.
Because I got it when I was 12.
Yeah.
And I got it for Christmas in my stocking. And I remember getting up, because we're allowed to open our stockings before our parents get up.
Okay.
Not anything under the tree, but you can get into your stocking. And it was in my stocking. I remember opening it, putting it in my Walkman and blasting Do the Bartman into my ears, because at that time I could not get there's no way I could get too much Simpsons into my bloodstream in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Because it had just come out, and it was funny as hell to begin with, but it just kept getting better and better and better, and you just liked it more and more and more. Like, it was even kind of past the T-shirt phenomenon. It was it's good. And so this came out, and it says I needed some Simpsons something or another.
Yes.
And we couldn't get enough, America and me. So I liked it then. I knew at the time that a lot of the songs were bad.
Yes.
But like sort of
the original songs. I mean, so there's covers, like God Bless the Child, Yardley Smith doing
Yardley Smith. That's what everyone wants is God Bless the Child, sang in almost tearful earnestness by Yardley Smith.
Yes.
Or Yardley Smith. Is it Yardley?
I think it's maybe Yardley. I'm not sure now.
Okay. Well, anyway, I mean, if you want that, this album has it. 4 minutes plus of that.
Right. And then, School Day, written by Chuck Berry. Again, it's like Nancy Cartwright. I'm sure she was enjoying that,
I mean, I understand why all of the actors did it. Like, why the hell would you not do this?
Right.
But I don't think that they were quite to the level where they were trying to curate like something particularly special that they weren't going to sell out in every way. I mean, It was hyper materialized at that point. Like,
yes,
you could buy Simpsons everything, just everything.
Yeah,
you know.
Yep.
Lunchbox, T-shirt, sunglasses, toys, calendars,
and in
books.
In 1990, I was telling my my son Liam about that too. It's like they didn't know how long it was going to last.
Right.
If they knew, we have 40 years of this, maybe they didn't need to.
No, you wouldn't have seen Simpsons Sing the Blues come out at Christmas in 1990 if they knew they had 40 years to stretch it out. Because it was Strike While the Iron Was Hot, and that is what this was. And it might have even been in their contracts with Fox. Who knows? I think it's terrible. And we'll get back to the album itself, which is just, I mean, it is what it is. It's yes. Not even bad. It's just not. It's just not ...
So
really.
But it did. So you listened to it a lot, and I'm sure you didn't listen to it at all since like 1990.
I imagine I listened to a shit ton of it for maybe like a few months, maybe.
Yes. I remember it all, like Deep Trouble came back to me quite a bit. Yeah. And so.
Yeah. But it was definitely a blast from the past.
Yes,
right. Like,
right.
And I think I was a little bit more of a grown-up kind of complaining about like this level of Bart and Lisa. Like whenever the whole. I mean, I even think some of these songs oversimplify the way the characters even were on the show at the time.
Yes.
But it's like that all Bart and Lisa do is fight, and Bart's always getting in trouble for like causing accidents or something, and it's like. It's not Dennis the Menace.
No,
like,
right. Yeah.
But I mean, I think that, at least Look at All Those Idiots by Mr. Burns is, I think, in the spirit of the show.
Right. Yeah.
Not that I ever want to listen to that either.
Right. And that's funny, too, because Harry Shearer is, quite the accomplished bassist of his band Spinal Tap.
Right. It's true. He came from the rock world, I know.
Yeah. So gonna sing that.
Yeah, I mean, it is fine. I think what I was going to say earlier is that the ironic thing is that they started having, the good full orchestra musical set pieces on The Simpsons just a year or two later. And if you put all those together in an album, that would actually be pretty good.
Well, I ended up getting that also. Songs in the Key of Springfield.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I just noticed that existed. I didn't know how new or old it was because I was not aware of that in 1997.
Yep.
I was not in a sophomore in college buying Simpsons merchandise anymore.
No, I think
because I wasn't over the hump of being too grown up for The Simpsons, I guess.
Yeah.
Although I would watch it still with my friends, but I'm not going to buy a T-shirt or anything.
No. I don't know why I got that CD, but I have it in my possession. Simpsons Songs in the Key of Springfield.
When did you buy it?
I mean, I probably when it came out. If I bought it or if it was a gift, I don't know.
Oh, that sounds like maybe a relative that didn't know how old you were.
Yeah.
Anyway, great gift, Aunt May.
Yes.
Yeah, so Do the Bartman, as I mentioned, was the hit single. Unfairly, they showed the video of this song, Do the Bartman, after an episode of The Simpsons, which unfairly, every kid in America was watching at that point.
Yes.
You would not watch The Simpsons. It would be unheard of.
Yes. I remember having, so I guess it was Thursdays, because Simpsons were on Sundays, and they moved to Thursdays, and they got back to Sundays.
Yes, I think that's right. When they moved to Thursdays, they were like, they were up against The Flash and The Cosby Show.
Cosby
and I was
Show.
like, what are you doing?
Yes.
What are you doing?
That's how big it was. And Fox was like, we can take down Cosby. And somebody had to, Fox. Good job.
Right. Turns out Bart Simpson was the hero we didn't know we needed.
Exactly. But I had a soccer practice, and the soccer fields were a bike ride from my house. But I remember being like, oh man, I gotta ride home and so I can watch The Simpsons. I gotta get on my bike and ride home as fast as I can.
I don't want to even miss the couch gag.
That's right.
If I miss The Simpsons, I mean, you're gonna miss the funniest jokes of the week. Is what you're gonna miss if you miss The Simpsons. I mean, it was all funny. It was all wall to wall funny, and then it just kept getting smarter. Anyway, this song was on, and it wasn't smart or funny, which was the problem. Was Do the Bartman.
Do the Bartman.
And it sounds like crap. It sounds like Walt Disney World level Michael Jackson song.
Well, Michael Jackson has a co-written credit.
Right, he's pooping this one out.
Yeah. See, this one, this one did not really bring me back, because I think the production is so.
Anyway, he raps a little.
Mom was too, because I put mothballs in the beef stew. Punishment time in the air lurks gloom. Sitting by myself, confined to my room. When all else fails, nothing else left to do. I turn on the music so I can feel the groove.
Yep.
I
feeling the groove now, baby.
I uncomfortably knew the words to that.
Yes.
And it was like coming from like this weird pit in my
that's exactly
head somewhere. Move your body if you got the notion, front to back in a rock-like motion. It's like slapped together by idiots just to make a buck. It's like they thought this was going to play in some lobby, I don't know, at an amusement park. I don't know. It's just terrible. It's insulting. Or we'll do a Randy Newman song, which I think maybe was from Parenthood. I don't remember.
I'm not sure. That's Homer and Marge singing together on "I Love to See You Smile" by Randy Newman.
I will say this: I don't mind listening to Marge sing stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of like it because I feel like she's so in character that she sort of makes me feel comforted.
Oh, okay.
Like, I feel like Marge is a very comforting, steady presence. I like Marge a lot.
Did you, so the Springfield soul stew, did you enjoy that one?
Oh, no, where she's just telling you the recipe.
That's right, give a little bass.
Yeah, no, that is the sins of the mother. Yeah,
that's right.
I mean, nobody's perfect, and Marge's string-sealed, whatever, I can't even say it, string cheese souls.
Springfield soul stew.
Irish wristwatch.
Yes.
See if you can say it 5 times fast, listener.
No.
That's the original title of the Hidden Agenda that we watch in the second half of the Irish wristwatch. Irish wristwatch. That's upsettingly dumb. Like she just says like all the instruments is sort of like a like a really lame, I don't know, what is it called? Peter and the Wolf. She just keeps saying, now we've got horns.
That's all filler. That one was.
And it's like, because she's a woman, it has to be a recipe.
Yeah, yes.
A cup of this and a cup of that and a teaspoon of funky.
Yes.
Gross. If you look up "Do the Bartman" on Spotify, the second thing is a motion picture score from the new movie The Batman. And I was trying to think of how I could work that together. Like, "Do the Batman" would be some sort of a dance where you beat someone to death, or
right, yes.
Or "The Batman" by Robert Pattinson would start doing the Bartman in that movie. That would be enjoyable as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. And this is actually what re-listening to "Do the Bartman" stood out is like. So this is probably the worst lyric: fixing test scores to get the best scores. You just rhymed scores with scores.
Well, and he sounds like Edgar Allan Poe at something where he's like, punishment time in the air lurks gloom.
Oh, that's right.
You know how
yes.
Bart Simpson talks?
Yes.
I'm born under a bad sign. That's also filler. That's like a contractual obligation, like when Eric Clapton puts out one of his blues albums.
Yes. So let's get to two. And then there's the Mona Lisa Blues, which is a good original from the show. And this morning my mother gave my last cupcake away. Gave my own cupcake away.
I'm going to say something that I have been afraid to say in the past, but I do not care for the episodes about Lisa and the blues.
Oh, yeah.
I like Bleeding Gums Murphy just fine.
Right.
I do not like it when Lisa sings the blues or plays her saxophone that much, but particularly when she sings the blues, I do not like that. And it's just a preference, and so I don't like that song either.
Okay.
I feel like I can't be the only one that's not really into Lisa's jazz.
Sure.
Or blues, I'm sorry.
Right. Well, she does both. She's saxophone. And then, so I had forgotten all about, like, I still remember Do the Bartman, and then the others, Mona Lisa Blues, because I've also watched that. But Deep Deep Trouble was the original one that I had forgotten all about. That I was like, oh yeah, they made a video about this one too.
Yeah, right. Well, they're damned if you do. What are we talking about? Well,
this is just sound clips from the show.
That's right.
Like his catchphrases.
Right. Start at the start, then take it away. My name is Simpson Bartholomew J. That's Bart with an art and a capital B, then Simpson.
It's like Sugar Hill Gang era rapping.
That's right. Yeah, it's real. Just young
and
MC.
That and that, and then you that and that and that.
Exactly. And so that was one that I was like, oh wow, I actually do know all the words to this song too, because I could probably hear like listen to Bust a Move or Ice Ice Baby. It's in the same spot in my brain where it's like, oh yeah, these old hip hop songs.
Right. But I every once in a while, you know what? I will turn on some Bust a Move.
It's a great song.
I am not going to turn on Deep Deep Trouble.
No.
But yes, I mean, I think you may have a better muscle memory of Deep Deep Trouble than I do.
Yeah.
I was irritated. I was very much like an adult that doesn't understand a toy listening to this album. But I do remember when it was a toy for me. I loved it. To be honest, I opened the package and outfolded the cassette. You know how it used to have a big long thing you could fold out, and it had all the lyrics, and it had drawings of the Simpsons on there. It's like, it was great. I loved it. It was Simpsons related material. I was going to say that you remember how Married with Children was like, they drummed up business by saying it was like shocking or sexually upsetting or too rude and crude for your mom kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I felt like that kind of wore off on The Simpsons a little bit, and my parents were sort of wary of me watching it, and that like you're damned if you do or you're damned if you don't. I felt like they emphasized like some of the like more, I don't know, off-color elements that weren't really the point of the show.
Yeah, right.
Like it was bad marketing to begin with or something.
Right.
Anyway, another piece of bad marketing, this album.
Yeah, which isn't very good. And there's no reason for you to listen to it in 2022.
What about that 1997 album? Would you recommend listening to that instead?
We'll have to get to it someday on our 1990s podcast.
Aren't there like 40 songs on that?
No, so that's the Yellow album, is the 1997 one. I don't know if there's 41, but that's another. The Simpsons characters sing other songs and not just music from the show.
Oh man, I don't need any more of that.
No.
I don't know if you peruse the Wikipedia, but the scathing reviews of this album were merciless.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's a bad album.
I'm not sure. It's funny, they kind of didn't get it right. Like the whole point is like Bart and Marge and Homer are not likable characters or dumb to have the characters sing. It's not that. It's they get it wrong, but it's like they were picking up on how trash it was.
Yeah. I need to find I don't think Disney Plus has the videos for Do the Bartman
or Deep Trouble.
And I think
YouTube has it.
Yeah, I think it wasn't Look at All Those Idiots. As I was listening to that one, I was like, I kind of remember this one also having a video.
Look at All Those Idiots. It strikes me as a musical number from a Simpsons musical. Like it fits. Like that's the introduction to Monty Burns in the musical The Simpsons.
Right, yeah.
Like if they'd given it just a little more thought and it had been like a theme project like that where like everybody sort of introduces themselves or there's a story or something, like it wouldn't have been that hard.
Yeah.
Tie it into a few episodes. Boom. Album. Like, but yeah, they really half-assed it. 1.5 stars is what
1.5 stars for me too.
Yeah. I am embarrassed to have liked this album and spent money on it, but you know, if you think of it like a concert T-shirt or something, like
it's all
those
good
these days. Anyway.
I'm not embarrassed to have liked it when I was. I mean, I think 12-year-olds. This is fine for a 12-year-old to like, but
we were right about some stuff like Nintendo.
That's right. Well, all right. That was the Simpsons Sing the Blues. We are going to take a break, and we will be back to talk about Ken Loach's Hidden Agenda.
Paul was not involved with terrorists. He was too smart to be manipulated.
This man Sullivan was no run-of-the-mill person you could just blow away. He was an American lawyer with an international reputation.
Am I wrong, or is it illegal to kill people and try to steal a country?
An American has been murdered in Northern Ireland.
Police said the car failed to stop at a roadblock outside Dungannon.
And a high-ranking British inspector has been assigned to the case.
We have the men that did the shooting. Our job's done.
Are you willing to settle for that? The truth has been buried.
I want that tape.
What tape?
The tape they found on Sullivan's body.
There was no tapes.
The investigation has been obstructed.
Consequently, I was put under close surveillance. Mail was opened. Phones were tapped.
But the real crime is the cover-up.
Hey, whoa. Welcome back to my so-called podcast. I didn't see you there, Gary.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you.
It's okay. I was already startled by the disgusting politics and corrupt power on display in the 1990 film Hidden Figures.
Hidden Agenda.
The Hidden.
No, Hidden Agenda. Ken Loach's 1990 Northern Ireland Irish thriller.
Hidden Agenda. Not the most descriptive title for what we see here. Hidden Agenda. Hard for me to remember, but I'll try.
Yep.
Hidden Agenda. Hidden Agenda. You hear that trailer in the background because it's St. Patrick's Day month where we
that's right.
try to visit an Irish movie, or I guess album. This week the album we did not was not Irish in any way.
We usually do movie though. We don't get a lot of Irish because we've done The Commitments, we've done the General, we've done.
Yeah, but couldn't we do like a Coors album or something eventually?
Well, yeah.
Or maybe Enya. We probably have done Enya. I don't know if she's Irish though.
I mean, we've definitely done U2 and Cranberries, but I don't think we've saved those for March.
Yeah, but we could. I'm not saying that we have.
Yes,
we could. But anyway, this week we totally didn't.
No.
And we have a movie called Hidden Agenda. Ken Loach, an early Ken Loach, Ken Loach, mid Ken Loach.
Yeah, because Poor Cow is the movie he made in the '60s with was it Malcolm McDowell for like the Limey uses the Ken Loach film Poor Cow from the 60s. Yes.
Oh yeah.
So
was it on TV? Because I think he did work in TV first.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I didn't know he went back to the 60s. Yeah, he's sort of always been there in the background, quietly making his movies, Ken Loach. And I'm sure this shot to the top of the box office, much like all of his other movies do.
Yes.
The Wind That Shakes the Barley, Daniel Blake. These are, show-stopping.
Yeah, they're huge. Yeah, I mean, the lines are around the block to see Daniel Blake.
Right. The Wind That Shakes the Barley is the e-ticket experience you were looking for this summer. That's what right. The posters would say.
Right. I've heard people who went and saw it like 3 or 4 times because it was.
Yep. Loach heads.
Yes.
They'll follow Ken Loach films around the country in their vans.
Yes, because you need to travel to follow a movie.
This was obviously number 1. Was there anything else at the box office?
Yeah, there was. Eric, there was. A couple of other movies. Number 10 that week was Jacob's Ladder.
Still have never seen that.
No.
Would like to. I like Adrian Lyne, sort of. And I like Tim Robbins, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, are we supposed to not like Tim Robbins now? Where did he go?
I don't think there's any reason to not like Tim Robbins. I think he's, I haven't heard anything bad about him.
Okay. I guess he just, Susan Sarandon, maybe she's tainted him by association.
Right. But they're no longer together, so.
It's true, and I could see why. Anyway.
That's right. Number 9, another Brad Dourif movie, Child's Play 2.
Yeah, I know. Man, and we'll talk about this, but spoiler alert, I thought I was going to get a leading man Brad Dourif movie.
Yeah.
Which would have been really nice, actually. I was excited to see that. But you close your eyes, you couldn't hear Chucky in this performance. He's a good actor.
Yes. Number 8, Ghost. Previously, my so-called podcast, Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost. That was a summer movie. It's still in the top 10.
Yep. Right. Yeah. It says 21 weeks. Number 7, Rescuers Down Under.
Yeah. I personally had a very soft spot in my heart for the Rescuers 1. Mm-hmm. So much so that I was kind of snobby about the Rescuers Down Under. Never saw it.
See, yeah.
I was like, that's not the real Rescuers, which is a stupid thing to say about a sequel. But
that's
I don't
right.
know. Maybe I was just getting older, too.
Well, I think you said that about the same, like you said that about the next movie, Rocky 5, sorry.
Oh, God.
Rocky 5, you're like, that's not the real Rescuers. And, look, Child's Play 2, Rescuers Down Under, Rocky 5, and number 5 that week was Predator 2.
Do you think maybe the 80s sequelitis was playing itself out a little too much at this point?
Yeah. So that was Predator 2. And then number 4 that week was Dances with Wolves 3.
Dances with Wolves again for the second time.
That's right.
Wolfier.
Oh, but look, I made that joke. But here's another sequel coming in at number 3. 3 Men and a Little Lady is number 3.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember that movie except for I remember thinking it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. I don't remember it at all. Number 2, opening that week is at number 2 is Misery.
That's also a movie that I've never seen the whole movie of. I think partially because I feel like I get it. Like I've seen so many clips of it, maybe I feel like I get it. But I'm sure there's a lot of movies that are like that if I actually watched them, I'd be like, oh, that's actually a good movie.
Right. On the Waterfront is a movie that I watched where I was like, oh, yeah, that's actually really good. He could have been a contender. You know?
You're like, now I know what he was talking about.
Exactly. Number 1, Home Alone, 1990.
Yep, that was a big hit movie for sure. Bigger and hitter, it couldn't have been.
I don't think so.
It was huge.
Right.
I think it was number 1 movie of 1990 for sure. So those were the movies that were out, and also Hidden Agenda was out purportedly. I'd never heard of it before, but I did see it recommended, and I did figure out who Ken Loach was, and then I figured out the cast, which is sweet, and I'd never seen it, and it gets fairly high marks on both IMDb and Letterboxd. So I was like, well, let's check it out. And either Gary, I need a little bit of a run up to my either or, as I am wont to do, but I'll be fast. Basically, the material in an interview, Ken Loach said the material could have easily been used to make like a more thriller kind of a movie that was more thrilling, like espionage and excitement essentially. And he decided to make a movie where everything seemed kind of normal, so it would seem like it could actually happen. And so I guess my question is, either you think he made the right call, or you'd like to see like a more exciting version of the same turn of events.
Yeah. So this movie is fine. No, it's I probably would have wanted to see a little more exciting version. I am guilty of kind of watching this while doing the dishes on my phone, actually getting this in. And
you do the dishes on your phone? Like, is there like a app for that or something?
There is, yes. So the movie's playing on my phone while I'm doing the dishes.
Okay, that seems like not the right exact circumstances.
But I don't think I missed, like, it's a very talky movie, and it's like, okay, I'm hearing it, what they're saying, and I'm getting it, and I will glance over and I see them, like, okay, they're in this setting, and they stay in this setting for a little bit, and I got it. It wasn't until the end.
It is it is a twisty mystery. It is a sort of far-fetched almost mystery to me.
Right.
Towards the end, I was like, is this really a conspiracy theory that people think? Or, because I don't, first of all, this takes place in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, 1981. And it's a movie about Frances McDormand and Brad Dourif, I guess is how you would begin this movie, right?
Yes, yeah.
And they are independent civil rights attorneys. Maybe they sort of work for the ACLU or whatever. And they've been doing an investigation into police tactics by the British on the Irish Republicans, which is, I learned, the minority of people in Northern Ireland, but their loyalty is to the Republic of Ireland to the south, not to Great Britain, so they don't believe they are a part of it. And it's actually sectioned off as well, even walls between areas, the Protestants and the it's not really about religion. It's they ally themselves with the crown. So anyway,
but it does have to do with. I mean, there is some religion plays into it, though. But yeah, because that's
like it's the two teams,
right? I mean, because they're all Irish, but it's the Protestants to the the British, where the Catholics are to the Republic of Ireland. So
so Frances McDormand's name is Ingrid Jessner, and he is she is investigating with her boyfriend Brad Dourif. They had also gone to Chile, during I guess the disappeared the dictator. I'm not thinking of his name right now. Feels stupid, but anyway, they were there. They met there. They do dangerous work, right?
Yep.
But not. I mean, they're Americans, right?
Yeah, which was
so
they
feel safe, I think, because they're American attorneys that are kind of in the public eye.
Yep.
He gets a phone call from somebody who wants to meet him and talk about some sort of tape that he handed him. We don't know who this guy is, what the tape is, whatever. So instead of flying out of the country, Brad Dourif goes to meet this guy in an hour. He says it won't take long, first of all.
Right.
And then he says it's an hour away. It's like, it's at least going to take 2 hours, okay? That's a long time. It's like I could sleep 2 hours, I could watch a movie anyway. So he goes out. It doesn't seem like the best idea, I'm going to be honest, at the beginning of the movie, whenever he goes out in the middle of the night to meet this guy.
Right, because he already saw, like, the, people chasing him. We got to see it, and he got to witness that, too. Mm-hmm. Some people are chasing this guy. He knows this guy's bad news.
Yeah. And I did feel like the ultra realism of this movie, the gritty realism of it, did make that scene where the four guys start chasing him on the street kind of scary, in a way. Like, kind of, if four actual guys did start chasing me, that would be upsetting and scary. And it seems like it would be weird if you saw it on the street too, right?
Yes. Yep.
And so seeing it on the street in this movie is kind of scary. So anyway, he goes out and a car full of people shoots up the car he's in with this other guy who's supposed to take him to the first guy. Whatever. We don't know. And you don't know. The
That's
audience
right. Yeah,
doesn't
we don't know.
But we do know that after the car crashes, somebody puts one in the brain of his body as it's falling out of the car, which, seems definitely excessive for a civil rights attorney.
Yes. Yep. Right. And
so Brad Dourif no longer in the film, much to my chagrin, I have to say.
Well, right, but I mean, if you watch the credits, like I did watch the credits, and it, Frances McDormand has the first credit, which I was a little surprised at that, because, Brian Cox could have gotten the first credit, but it is Frances McDormand, Brian Cox, and then Brad Dourif. So you're right, we're watching Brad Dourif this first 15 minutes, and it's like, oh, it's going to be his movie, but it's like, but it can't be his movie because Frances McDormand was billed ahead of him. So I knew something was wrong.
But I mean, I guess I wasn't thinking about that, but even still, maybe she's a bigger star and they're both going to be in it. I definitely had my psycho moment when he was killed, I guess.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay. And they have a good friend who's from a different country, has a heavy accent, I don't know from where, who's also a civil rights attorney. And he says, if somebody comes in from Britain and investigates this, I don't trust it because, there's been lots of investigations, but nothing ever comes of it when the British examine stuff that happens up here, essentially.
Well,
and so then we meet the guy that's coming to investigate.
Yeah, you got to.
Brian.
Sorry to interrupt, but you also got a big point was we see the news, the station saying that they ran past a police barricade, and so that's why the police ended up shooting them. So it's kind of like that's something we learned there is like, oh, they were killed by the Northern Irish police there.
Right. It's very confusing at that point in the movie. They were killed by the police, but the thing you're hearing on TV is not what we saw happen in the film.
Right.
So we're starting to get confused. It's a mystery. We don't know if Kerrigan is going to be a good investigator or a bad investigator. He shows up. He is not welcome because he is coming into meddling with things that he doesn't understand, which is sort of the internal affairs cliche situation going on here. But the cops being the British cops and the sort of, I don't know, the criminals, I guess, in this scenario are the Irish Republican Army people. It just depends on whether you describe it as like a war or not, I suppose.
Well, and that's really kind of what the underlying thing is like the Northern Irish cops are like, look, we are fighting a war. The Irish Republican Army uses these tactics. We're going to use these tactics back. Where Brian Cox's character is like, oh no, I mean, you guys you're police officers. You're not keeping the peace. You're
by murdering people.
Yeah, right.
Right. And by the end of the movie, I think Frances McDormand has some words to say about connecting all of this to fascism, which is illuminating. I do think that the movie is very smart.
Yeah.
It is intelligent about the way that it explains kind of intricacies in a way that doesn't hold the audience's hand, but deals with complicated things, but not so complex that it's like irritating. I feel like it hits a sweet spot with storytelling. You probably like the storytelling in this better than the storytelling in the last part of The French Dispatch, I imagine.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, Frances McDormand dismayed. Her boyfriend's dead. Her boyfriend's dead. And wait, did you ever see that movie, My Boyfriend's Back, where he's a zombie?
I do. Yes, I did see that. I do remember that.
Is it good?
I don't recall if it was any good. But
maybe I'll watch that after we finish podcasting. Like it's probably on Tubi or something.
Probably, yes.
Anyway, her boyfriend's dead. She's sad. She has to figure out what happened. Maybe she can get some help from our boy Brian Cox, the Kerrigan, who at that point you're like, is he going to just do a whitewash or whatever? He seems certain of himself. And so that is sort of the way the movie unfolds is Frances McDormand and Brian Koch kind of going down the rabbit hole, as it were. They kind of know that this story is phony immediately, and she knows the story is phony immediately because she knows her boyfriend was not involved with terrorists.
Right, and it all kind of hangs on this tape, and that's what it becomes. It's like Frances McDormand tells Brian Cox that Brad Dourif was listening to a tape, and so then that kind of becomes the crux of Brian Cox's investigation because he talks to the one cop. He's like, well, what happened to that tape? And the one Irish police officer, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, let me ask you again. And this time, think about if you want to answer me correctly.
I thought that those scenes, he and his partner do a couple of interrogations. His partner's really good in those scenes, as is Brian Cox good in those scenes.
Yep.
I feel like that part of the movie is maybe the strongest, where Kerrigan is sort of in his element. He's the cop that can't be bought. He's justice come to town. He's going to put everybody in their place. Is where he's coming from, essentially. And that is kind of fun to watch. Part.
I like that part, too.
I don't think Ken Loach is interested in us having fun always whenever he's watching. He wants to show us. He wants to teach us something. And he wants to teach us something about having to make ethical decisions that are very, very inconvenient for you or might destroy your livelihood or whatever. About these cops, which is a real bummer, what he's trying to say there.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's known for his uplifting movies, or like that they're, fast-paced, entertaining movies. But I will say that I found this to be richly textured, like when they go to the parts of town where the police and the army, and in this movie MI5, MI6 are involved also.
Mm-hmm.
So it is being treated in a lot of ways like a war.
Right.
And you see the military on the streets, and you see the tanks on the streets, and the barbed wire, just in neighborhoods. I feel like is pretty evocative in this movie.
Yeah.
And so I felt like some of that stuff was really good. And then when they went to the Irish Republican bar and they were singing protest songs, I thought that was like good, tone setting and scene setting where I was sort of feeling the vibe of that part of history,
Yeah.
But I am still kind of learning about that whole period of history. It's odd. It's like a sort of war or something, paramilitary action, I think they call it. But I thought some of that was really good. And you know what? Brian Cox and Frances McDormand, they're good.
Yeah, they give really good performances. Right. And so just to put a cap on the end of the movie is the Irish cops.
Wristwatch.
Yeah, exactly. They blackmail Kerrigan into, burying his report.
Yeah, I think they're like upper crust conservative politicians that are extremely powerful that are pulling the puppet strings on the police, who are pulling the puppet strings on MI5 or whatever to a disinformation campaign.
Yeah.
Which is what's on the tape. So it's like it goes all the way to the top, Gary.
That's right, to put Thatcher in office, and so that's
all the way to the top.
Yeah,
like Margaret Thatcher.
Well, right, but the one guy, Harris, he did say, because she was like, "Is Thatcher involved?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know about that, but she did benefit the most."
Yeah. One of the things. So yeah, I mean the from what I'm learning, reading a little bit about this, both sides had justifiable grievances. There were bombings by the IRA, even in England, that were, over on the other island that were
that's what
killed civilians.
In the name of the Father is what that's about that.
Right. And so then that's the reasonable grievance of the Irish people, because the British felt like they could just imprison people without any proof for a really long time. In fact, the guy who In the Name of the Father is based on was still in prison when Hidden Agenda came out with no evidence. So he was actually releasing this movie into the Troubles being sort of the still happening, essentially.
Well, right, yeah. It didn't stop until 1998 with the Good Friday Accords.
Right. And so this was a very provocative piece, I think, for him to put out there. And it won a Cannes Grand Jury Prize. And there was some shouting matches that went on with like the British press and Ken Loach at Cannes, which, they called it like a commercial for the IRA. And I mean, what do you think of that?
I don't necessarily think that it is a commercial for the IRA. I do think so. We have watched some movies about the Troubles because it was, of course, it makes sense that Irish filmmakers are going to make movies that at least border on the Troubles because it was a big deal in the 90s.
Right.
And I thought this was interesting to where it was kind of the British side of the Troubles, and because Ken Loach is British and not Irish, and I did believe Jim Allen, the guy who wrote it, I think is also English, not Irish. So this is decidedly kind of a British, but I don't think it's. I think what it is he looks at both sides as humans, except for those rich Tory guys in that mansion at the end. I think they're supposed to be the devil, but the rest of the people are humans, and I think he looks at both sides as humans. And I think some British people, especially in 1990, were unprepared to think of IRA members as human beings. Like, it was very black and white that they were extremely killable, and I think that's an interesting kind of a deal, because I think
he makes what the IRA is doing seem bad too, although he doesn't depict it.
No.
Which is interesting. He depicts kind of the negative portion of the British occupation, essentially, as it were. And he doesn't. So maybe that's what they're getting at. But I mean, to me, I think having a British internal affairs look into his own guys kind of a thing is a nice way to kind of look at both sides of the issue.
Right.
He's supposed to be impartial or whatever.
Right. Yeah, you got somebody who didn't really care about, and that was the thing about Brian Cox's character, was he's like, I don't care about this. I mean, he's like, not the war, but he's like, I'm here to solve this murder.
Right.
It's like, I'm not even going to solve the war.
Right.
And so,
right. And he, I mean, essentially, people say it over and over again. Sort of the theme is, he thinks he could get through his whole career without having to deal with this level of, corruption and resistance from the powers that be, essentially. And he has to decide kind of what kind of a man he is. I think that. Do you think that the movie's more about what was actually happening in Northern Ireland, or is it about this main character making kind of a moral decision like he does?
Yeah, I think it might be, and that's why I was surprised going back on even the credits. So I was like, well, I think Brian Cox should have been the top billed, because I do think it is really
I think it's
more
a Brian Cox story. Yeah. But it's I mean, she's morally superior in the end of the movie, but he's the one you're really feeling that's a dark ending.
Yeah. So right. And I guess because it's like, nothing's going to change. Mm-hmm. Not for another 8 years.
Nothing's going to change. And there's nothing you can do about it, no matter how good a person you're trying to be, which is, it's dark.
Right.
Cynical, one might say, but there's some moments of hope and positivity, but he's definitely not a touchy-feely director.
No.
I think he's a real intellectual director, is sort of what I felt from this. Like, he was strongly interested in details, and dialogue needed to be smart, and acting's really good. I don't know. I really haven't seen a whole lot of Ken Loach movies. Have you?
No.
Yeah. I haven't. I mean, I would watch another one, I guess, after this, but I wouldn't be chomping at the bit, I suppose.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was a slow movie, but you almost think of because wasn't Clear and Present Danger or Patriot Games? Which one of those was about the Troubles?
Patriot Games,
which we did watch on that, and this almost seems like it could. This reminded me of Patriot Games a little bit. That is zero politics and 100% just Irish people are evil. Right? Yeah.
Irish bad guys. Irish wristwatch. Yeah, Patriot Games is Irish Sean Bean is a super bad man.
He's the evil guy, yep.
Clear and Present Danger is a little bit more nuanced. It's sort of about the war on drugs in South America and, the bad things that are happening on the American side and the, drug cartel side. So it was a little bit more nuanced. And Hunt for Red October is probably the most entertaining out of those three movies.
Right. Yes.
You felt like this felt like Patriot Games?
No.
Patriot Games is a lot of gore, I feel.
Right. Well, so Patriot Game is, I felt like they were kind of telling similar stories, but of course Patriot Games is more action than this ever was. But it kind of like the IRA, there's trying to solve the murder and stuff. So it just kind of reminded me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong, Eric.
It's early 90s, the Troubles. I just feel like, in a way, in my memory, that Patriot Games movie is a lot more cartoony than this movie is.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie is almost trying to be almost like a documentary.
Yeah.
I will say that the guy, I don't know his name, the white-haired police captain or whatever, that is sort of like the ultimate bad policeman that he keeps trying to interrogate and he keeps avoiding him. I don't remember his name. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yes.
That guy's a good actor.
Yeah.
Because he has a rough character to play because this is a very unlikable person, but he's not, doesn't overdo it, you know?
Right.
So it's a lot of good acting.
A lot of good acting, yeah.
A lot of dour-looking locations.
Right. And yeah, it's a good movie you can just listen to it. It's almost like a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that would be a good Letterboxd list, is movies that you don't necessarily have to watch, like if you were doing something else. Because I did worked on the sinks and listened to My Dinner with Andre, and it was delightful.
Yeah, right. The only point that I needed to be like, watch is when he is like, hands Brian Cox the envelope, and he was like, look at these. Oh, he's like, oh, he's showing these photos. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it harkens back to whenever Wilford Brimley brings the envelope full of sexy photos to Tom Cruise in The Firm. Although I feel like all those pictures showed in this movie, which was really just Brian Cox sort of at a table with Frances McDormand.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, and it reminded
all that
me,
damning. It didn't seem to me.
It reminded me of Who Framed Roger Rabbit when he's like, patty cake, patty cake,
patty cake. Oh man, I was listening to a podcast and they were saying Who Framed Roger Rabbit didn't hold up, and I disagree with that. I think it's still good.
Yeah. It's been a little bit since I've seen it. I'll have to rewatch it to see if it holds up. But
maybe I shouldn't, though.
Yeah.
Should we? It won't be on this podcast because I think that was 89, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Well, Gary, you know, I guess I would give this movie 3 stars, I suppose. I don't know if that's out of 4 stars. I think it's maybe like a 3.5 out of 5, perhaps.
Okay.
For me, I thought it was good. I think if you're into an intellectual movie, you could do worse.
Yes.
And good performances. You know, we've got 40 years of Frances McDormand, and she's still storming the Oscars every year. So
yeah, she's great.
Enjoy this, and Succession. You know, Brian Cox, he's huge right now.
That's right. Yep.
Both these guys are huge. If you want to delve into the back catalog, you could do worse.
Yep. I will give it 2, 3. I'll give it 3 stars. You talked me into 3 stars. I think it's good.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been more thrilling.
Yep. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of My So-Called Podcast. We will be back in hopefully 2 weeks to talk about another 90s album and movie. Yep.